Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are just about ready to launch our greenhouse module. There's one final question that I have though, and that's, is this too heavy for our sky crane? This is technically 3 modules being launched at once. I don't know. That's really interesting, actually. So what I want to do is I want to run a quick test of that, just to find out. This is more weight than we normally land, and I'd like to know that now rather than later. So let's put this out on the pad, and we're just going to, this is going to be reverted, we're just going to hop this over to a non-orbital altitude over Duna, and it's going to need to be like just entering the atmosphere. Well, actually, we'll do it orbital. We'll come in orbitally, and we'll find out. So obviously, we're going to want to get rid of large sections of this vehicle, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm just interested in what our thrust to weight's going to be, and I'm still a little bit suspicious about this, but okay, let's just pop this over, and let's put this into orbit, I think, around Duna. So that's going to be here. And we'll just set orbit at whatever the minimum is. This is going to be too high, isn't it? This is going to be the... Yeah, this is way too high. I'm going to set this to 1, and then it'll set it to the minimum safe orbit. Perfect. So there we go. This is the quote-unquote minimum safe orbit. And I'm just going to immediately jettison a lot of this. So I'm going to activate this radial decoupler and this radial decoupler, if I can select it. We have to do these one at a time because these SRBs will absolutely destroy everything if we do it through the staging system. So we just have to do it this way. We're going to jettison these, and then I'm going to jettison this, and then I'm going to activate this engine and get us a little distance here. Okay, that's definitely an issue there. We need struts from here to here. That's something we should note. So let's bring this over to retrograde. We're very close to being at retrograde right now. And we should also have our solar panels extended, at least some of them. And let's do these for now. Okay, so let's make our way over to retrograde here. This is very, very slow. You know what? I don't care. We're just going to burn it. And it's going to be very spicy because this is going to bob all over. But the real question is, what's that periapsis height? It is good enough at this point. Okay, so we'll call that good. And we're just going to bring this on in. We should jettison this guy. Get out of here. Excellent. Now, the reaction wheel will slowly try to pull us back into the correct attitude. I'm going to freeze the physics here, and then we're going to make our way over to surface velocity minus. And we're going to need to activate all of these as soon as we can. But for the time being, we're just physics warping, and I want to see thrust away to 0.96. That's probably still enough. Okay, let's get these extended out just as a quick test here. 1, 2, 3... And finally, out over on this side. 1, 2, and 3. Also, these don't appear in the VAB, which is why we weren't able to add things right in this area. That's interesting. Okay, so we're going to be entering the atmosphere fairly soon here. We're just orienting. Okay. We don't care where we're going to come down. That is not relevant to this particular test. So, at this point, we need to come back out of warp because we're drifting out of surface velocity minus. Okay. We're going to be entering the atmosphere shortly here, and we'll run our test. Yeah, we're going to be drifting again, but that's okay. So, we're in atmosphere now. Okay, we're going to physics warp. And as we see, our surface velocity is currently increasing. Now, in reality, we would do a re-entry burn, and this would be a less spicy landing than what we're going for right now. I want to be clear about that. So the question is, just how much are we going to be slowing down by? And also, we should stow our solar panels before those break. There we go. Solar panels are stowed for now. And we're trying to chill on surface velocity minus, but we're kind of not succeeding at that. Aerodynamic forces are currently buffeting us around pretty significantly, and that's okay. We can see we're starting to decrease our speed now. We need to get down slowly enough. Whoa. I'm zooming in and it's zooming out. Now I'm zooming out and it's zooming in. That's really weird. Is that something with my mouse, or is that something the game is doing? It's normal now. It was only happening during the warp. Now it's not happening at all. Wild. Okay. Well, I want to activate the drogue chutes as soon as they're safe. This is deploy chute. I only want to arm them. It's currently risky to deploy them, and we don't want to do that at all, if we can help it. So we're just going to head on in here. I'm watching our altitude. It is, of course, dropping. Our surface speed is dropping a lot as well. But is it enough? Okay, we can get our drogues out, and we should. So I'm going to deploy these manually. Now, they're only going to actually deploy when they are meeting the correct conditions. But the fact that the drogues are deployable is a very good sign. So let's bring this on down. The real question that we have here is, will the Sky Crane be able to slow us down enough in combination with the chutes? So we will see. We're down to 500 meters per second at this point. All chutes are now eligible to be fired. So we'll just do that. So that's a really good sign at this point. With no intervention whatsoever coming from orbital velocity, we were able to get this down to chute speed. So that's good. It's not terribly surprising, but it is good. The next question, of course, is what's our actual landing speed going to look like? So let's just go ahead and physics warp for a bit. We should see, there go the drogue chutes. And those will bring us to a vertical orientation. And yeah, the sun is going down right now. It's not necessarily ideal, but we'll get the information that we need. We would not be landing here under normal circumstances. That's for sure. The mains will be deploying shortly. We can see our speed is still only just decreasing at this moment, but the drogues aren't even deployed at this point. So that's fine. There go the drogues deploying. And the mains should open up pretty soon. Yeah, there go the mains. And they will, of course, deploy as well. But the question is, ooh, that was exciting. Well, that told me that the main issue that we're experiencing is joint weakness here. We can fix that. That's no problem. 15 meters per second? Huh. That's a lot slower than I was expecting this to be. That's a lot slower. That's a really good sign, to be clear. We're happy about that. Okay, that's absolutely magnificent. This means that this is completely viable. With 0.96 thrust to weight, that means we can cancel out almost all of gravity, but not quite all. But we would be going back up, I think, if we were to max this throttle out. I'm pretty sure, because of the parachutes. The parachutes are, of course, counteracting a significant amount of gravity right now. So let's see what this looks like. Obviously, this is a terrible place to land, but that's okay. Let's put ourselves in surface up. And we're just interested in seeing how slow we can get this. Okay. So I'm not sure what all blew up there. It was wheels. We lost all of our wheels on that attempt. Okay, so losing all of our wheels is, of course, bad. So our thrust to weight is currently 1.0, and I mean, that's mildly surprising. We're actually able to take off with this at this point. Now, that's not to say that that was a successful landing necessarily. So what that ends up meaning is that we're going to have to be pretty careful with how we do the actual landing here. But it is theoretically viable. Theoretically viable. So that's good to know. Losing every single one of our wheels in the test here is definitely in the category of non-optimal. So one thing we might think about doing is carrying less fuel in the Sky Crane. Also, we're probably going to have less materials when we actually get here in terms of our water, in terms of our carbon dioxide, food, things like that will probably be consumed along the way, and those do have weight to them. So we'll probably have a little bit less weight when we do the actual landing, and it doesn't need to be much for that landing to be successful. We'll also be moving at a slower speed, most likely, because we'll have access to more fuel. At this point, I just kind of want to fly this thing. It's almost more of a hovercraft than anything else. It is kind of fun to fly, though. I'm not going to lie. So there is that. But we obviously need to have the wheels for this to be considered a success, right? At this point, I think it's viable. I think we can say that under a real situation, we're going to have fewer materials on board, which means that we're going to have less weight here, which means that our thrust to weight will be slightly higher. But we may also want to consider boosting the power of this Sky Crane by a little bit. It doesn't need to be much. So let's pull that back, and that was definitely an interesting test. It was very, 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 very close to a successful test. We could also make the argument that maybe these Krakened out, but I don't think they did. We've not had issues with that with any of our landings. We've only had issues with Krakening on this when we get it docked up. So I don't think that's actually the issue as of right now. I think we're just moving slightly too quickly. So if we wanted to address that, one thing we could do is we could simply double our number of Twitch engines. That would increase our fuel usage by, well, double, which wouldn't be amazing, to be sure, but we could do that. I would want us to be in 4x symmetry as we did this. So we'd do that, and then we'd do this. That's not at the correct angling, is it? That's at the correct angling. So that doubles our Twitch engines, and where exactly did it put those? Okay, yeah, that seems good. I want to snap those into position. So we're going to get all 4 of these just snapped into position here in hopes of being fairly symmetrical on this. Yeah, that should be symmetrical there. So that will increase our amount of thrust that we can do on that landing burn, and it'll also increase the volume of this, which is not exactly ideal, but it is fine. Now, we know that there's some issues out over here, right? So I'm going to grab a strut, and I'm going to run... Oh, we're not in place mode. That would help. I'm going to grab a strut, and we're going to run it from here to here. And from... not there. From about here to about... we're having a bit of a difficulty getting this actually assigned to the location I want it to go. Sure, that would do. Okay, so that should fortify that area a little bit. Now, that's really only a problem in Kraken-y situations, so that is absolutely noted. And let's see, yeah, we can just do that. Perfect. So that should be good in terms of the strutting, and we should no longer have a joint weakness here. Let's go ahead and put this out on the pad. I think we're ready to maybe do a real launch. The major question at this point is, are we going to have the life support? And that's going to be an interesting question. I suspect that we will. I think we'll have enough life support to do this, but we'll find out. So let's put this out on the pad. Is this an unsimulated launch at this point? I'm always reticent to say yes, because every time I do, I discover a problem with it in the next 5 minutes. But I do want to say, as of right now, I'm not expecting any problems with this. I expect this to be completely 100% fine at this point. So maybe we should say that this is an unsimulated launch at this juncture. Okay, that was definitely less bouncy up here. Still a little bouncy, but not terrible. Okay, let's launch this monstrosity. So we're going to put ourselves into surface up. I'm going to launch this manually, and we're just going to get our apoapsis up to somewhere around 10 kilometers. Definitely a little low frame rate as of right now. And as we ditch parts, hopefully that will improve. It likely will. So, we determined that we need to carry this a little beyond where this burns out, right? If I remember correctly. We want to make sure that this liquid fuel is completely gone before we stage. That's for sure. Moving us over to orbital mode. We're going to keep us going straight up. Our apoapsis is about 4 kilometers right now. If we were to bring this over to orbital prograde, it would be a little much. So we're just going to burn orbital prograde at about... I kind of want to take it a little higher. Maybe 12 to 15 kilometers is what I'm thinking right now. This just feels a little ambitious to make the turn here. So this is 12, and this is 15. I just want a little bit more vertical speed. We know that, ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of turning. Whoa! Well now. Okay. We gotta keep burning until these SRBs are off. But that was a significant event that just occurred. I'm not sure how that happened. But for now, we have to hold like this. Look at this. This part actually detached. That's wild. So we're just holding for now. I'm going to be moving this to here. We're entering abort stage. No doubt about that. SRBs are burnt out as of now. We need to ditch these, but we are tumbling like mad, and I'm not sure how safely we can ditch them. I'm hoping that we end up not tumbling quite so much. I'm going to stage here. That gets the chutes out. The chutes should help us significantly. The question is, will we be able to hold attitude? We're in an abort procedure at this point for sure. I'm definitely quite surprised by whatever it was that just happened. I don't have an explanation for it. Did we have a joint failure here? That'd be kind of wild. Clearly it detached this, but it didn't destroy it. So that was pretty nuts. I'm not going to lie. So at this point, we're still tumbling. Our chutes are trying to hold us in a decent attitude. We may need to ditch the SRBs. I'm not entirely sure yet. I want to be in surface velocity minus. Our speed is not too great. We're coming down on land, which is definitely not the ideal scenario. So honestly, landing like this is probably for the best. Tipping over is our biggest danger at this point, I feel like. But we'll see. Chutes are beginning to deploy. These are, of course, tuned for Duna, so they're going to deploy really high up for Kerbal. But this will pull us around to orbital velocity minus. Or rather, surface velocity minus. That's just the way chutes work. The question is, what's our terminal velocity with these chutes on? The answer is about 25 meters per second. Thrust to weight here is 0.56. We can cushion our landing with sky crane and with mainsail. But tipping is absolutely the biggest danger. We may want to jettison all of this and then just recover this part. That may well be our best bet at this point. So I'm extending our landing legs here, or rather our landing wheels. The real question is, if we did that, would we have enough thrust to weight to cushion our landing here on Kerbal? Because we're going to have much lower thrust to weight on Kerbal with our sky crane, but at the same time, the parachutes are going to be far more effective. Tipping over is absolutely the concern at this point. And if we try to land with all of this, I think we 1,000% tip over. Unless we're just really lucky and we happen to land on something that is extraordinarily flat. So 20 meters per second is, of course, not ideal. We could use these as litho brakes. That's a theoretical possibility as well. I'm just wondering how flat the terrain that we're going to land on is going to be at this point. So we need to warp down towards the ground a little bit. And what's our current surface altitude? Radar altitude is what we need. About 700 meters. Okay. We're coming down at about 22 meters per second, which is, of course, too fast for a safe landing. But we can dial it down. We've got a lot of engine power here. It's not enough to completely counteract our movement, necessarily, but with the chutes, it probably is. So we can try to land this, but tipping over is a large concern. We're still about 300 meters up. I'm currently just feeling out how this is going to go. Okay. Can we recover? No, we're tipping. Yikes. Yikes. This is the danger. Okay. That actually went quite well. We lost very little there. Let's recover that. That was exciting. I don't know what the cause of that failure was. That was unusual. Now, we definitely tipped too much. We had an over tip. And that was going to probably cause a failure of this flight anyway. But that detachment was unusual. I think that was probably just overstress. And if we're just more careful with the gravity turn, it probably won't happen next time. How much did we manage to recover? Actually, that was about half of it. And no Kerbals died. So I'm going to call that a win. We got lucky there, no doubt about it. But that tip over was definitely painful. So we need to recover what we can of the debris here, but I don't think we're going to get anything for any of these. Yeah, it's just going to clean them up. That's okay. Once they're detached and classified as debris, we're not able to actually recover them, which I think is a little odd, but sure. But hey, we managed to recover half of the money, so that's something anyway. Well, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to try that launch again. And I'm thinking we're going to go up to more like 20 or 25 kilometers this time. Seems we need more vertical speed and, more importantly, to just be more cautious on the gravity turn. Cranking it over to prograde at 15 was ambitious, it seems. So, we will see. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.